and for your patience. We are very happy to be here. We thank you for coming in the very last day of the conference. We hope you had a great time here. For us, the organization is very, very nice to see all these people together, researchers, companies, around the same topic. This is the organizer committee. You probably talked more to me and Salvo, but also we would like to thank Sozik, Barbara, and Liz. But of course, we were financed by the French National Research Council and also the Swiss National Foundation for Science and all the universities that are supporting us. We have a very large selection of francophones that will give talks here. We have people from Belgium, Paris, Switzerland. Unfortunately, one of our speakers, Professor Denny, he had COVID and he wrote us yesterday at 10 p.m. saying that he was doing his best, but of course, for the sake of the world, he would stay home. And then we had to manage our calendar, so our schedule. So we would probably switch Bertrand's talk, right?
Yes.
To the second slot. I'm going to talk about the agenda in the next slide. We would like to thank the companies that are here, and we will show their demos in the afternoon. This is a brief pass by through the calendar, so through the agenda. So we would start with the artificial companies. You can take our programming in our website if you want to follow up by there. In the second part of the afternoon, then probably is when we will have the switch. After lunch, we have also a session followed by the presentations of the poster and the demos. And finally, we end with a panel to discuss new trends in new pedagogies, new methods and challenges of multimodal interactions in education. So without further ado, I would like to invite Sozik and Barbara, that is on Zoom, to chair the first section. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. And Sozik, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. So I'll be chairing this first session together with Barbara. I don't know if there is a way to make Barbara visible on the screen.
Sure.
Awesome. Hi, Barbara. So I'll be the embodied sharing person for this session, and Barbara will be the virtually present person for this session, which is relatively on topic because for this session we will focus on artificial companions, both embodied and are virtual. So I will first give you an overview of the session, and we will properly introduce each speaker just before their talk. So the first speaker that we have invited and that we are super lucky to have today will be Pierre Dillenbourg. His presentation will be focusing, is entitled, "How could poor interaction produce learning effects?" And I will read the summary of this presentation to give you a taste of it in advance. So planes don't flip their wings, but humanoid in education tends to badly imitate human roles. Teacher, tutees, or co-learners. The interaction that a learner may have with a robot are very poor as compared to the interaction with a human. If the richness of interaction does not justify the use of robots, can we creatively use human-robot interaction bottleneck as opportunities to invent novel learning situations? To explore this question, Pierre will need to start from the mechanism by which some social interaction may, in some condition, produce learning. Then after that, we will have two shorter presentations. The first one will be by Chen-Yang Wen and Jianling Zhu, and the name of this presentation is the iRecheck project, using tablets and robots for personalized handwriting practices. So Chen-Yang and Jianling will give us an overview of the iRecheck project, which is focusing on using social robots and tablets to support the development of innovative approaches for children with handwriting learning difficulties. And then Marjorie Armando will join us for our presentation named Toward a Tool Against Stereotype Threat in Math. children perception of virtual role model, and our talk will focus on exploring how the characteristic of virtual agents can influence gender stereotypes that children may apply to this agent, and whether virtual agent can act as social role model for children to fight against those negative stereotypes, and more specifically, the negative stereotype linked to math in young girls. So I hope you're as excited as I am to hear all those great speakers. And I will first ask Pierre to join us. And I will not be the one giving you a proper introduction of Pierre, but Barbara will be. So I'll leave you the room, Barbara.
So hello, everyone from Germany. While Pierre reaches the podium, it's...
Hold on, Barbara. I don't think we can hear you properly.
Okay.
The volume is already up. Maybe there are some. Try to say something.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Germany.
Is it better?
No. Okay.
Okay.
I think this is.
Okay, you'll have to speak very loudly, Barbara.
That's no problem for me. So I'm very happy to be the person introducing, although virtually, Pierre Dillenbourg, our first speaker. Pierre is a full professor at EPFL in Switzerland, and I've been a postdoc in his lab for nearly 4 years, until a few months ago. So I think that this gives me some right to be unconventional in my introduction. And so I decided to sort of skip the biographic details and just tell you 2 things about Pierre that I think explain why we wanted him as a speaker and why we are so happy that he could make it. So number 1, Pierre is among the world's greatest expert on collaborative learning, and he investigated deep foundational questions on the topic, such as in his seminal paper, "What do you mean by collaborative learning?" And this actually stands as an example of the fact that Pierre can always spot the core of the matter, and his ideas in written, in oral form, are always thought-provoking, sometimes also just provoking, as also the title and the abstract of his talk from today suggests. Second thing, Pierre started his career as a primary school teacher. Then he moved to academia, where he developed technologies to support learning for many years as throughout the academic career, from a PhD to full professorship. And a few years ago, he also became Associate Vice President of EPFL for Education. And this is to say that Pierre's research has always been very firmly grounded in reality, and he really practices what he preaches. So I think that this makes him rather uniquely qualified to speak about technologies to support education. And now that I have hopefully raised the high expectations, Pierre, the floor is yours.
Yeah, if you can share your screen, if you have videos, don't forget to share the audio too.
Yeah, the audio is
okay.
You're mute.
And now, Barbara, is it better?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, good. Maybe you have this thing that happened to you. It happens to me quite a lot of time. Journalists call you. Are you going to replace teachers by robots? That's always a question. And it's difficult to give a smart answer. I say, no, we do. No, I found a solution. You just say, yes, of course. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. And that's the best answer you can give. And I have some troubles now about all the things about humanoid in the classroom. We have many discussions with Barbara and with Daniel. I lose faith in some way in what can we really do about humanoid in classrooms. But then I thought that would not be very nice to come to a conference about human robot in classroom and say, no, that's not a good idea. It's not a very good keynote. And so I tried to find something positive, and I found this sentence. And even if we don't manage to have robots which are very good, maybe having robots which are not good is good for education. So I always do that when I am invited to a conference. I give a title 3-4 months before. I have no clue what I will say. And then the day before, I have to make the slide and I say, wow, how can I survive with this talk? So I'm not sure I will give you a good answer to this title. But the basic idea was that maybe having bad robots may not be so bad for education, actually. That's what I will try to, not to prove, but to give some partial answers. So usually to the journalists, I say, yeah, we will going to replace teachers by robots, and then we also replace the kids by the robots, and everybody is happy. Everybody go to the beach and life is good, okay? So as I told you, so I'm not a robotics person. You have been told I was a school teacher. I did my master thesis was machine learning for education. It was in '85. It did not work, but it was beautiful. No, it works, but it's ugly. And so we had this project for many years in my lab that maybe you heard it. It's called Co-Writer. We take kids with problem handwriting, 6 years old. If you are 6 years old and you have problem handwriting, you are broken, because you have problem in everything at school. Because even if you have to write 5 + 5 is 10, you have to write 5 + 5 is 10. So even if you know it's 10, the cognitive resource taken for handwriting 5 + 5 is 10 spoils your life. So I see these kids, they break your heart because they come and they're not even 7 years old and life is already suffering for them. And they told me, the others write better than me, and they feel it. And because handwriting is humiliation, they don't write. And because they don't write, they don't improve, and it's a vicious cycle. So we said to these kids, you see now, he needs to pass a test of handwriting. Could you help him? This is called the protégé effect. When you're in charge of teaching someone, like if you have kids who prepare a test, you have so much motivation in making this person succeed that you end up learning a lot about it. And now, as you know, it's a cheap robot, he cannot write. Handwriting, from the robotics viewpoint, is very complex. The friction has to be just enough, otherwise you break the pen or you slip or whatever. So we cheat. And so what we do is now, so the child chooses a word, blah, blah, and now writes, blah, blah. He doesn't write, he writes in the air, and the letters appear. They believe in Santa Claus, so why not? And they don't care. And then they take the iPad, and then they try to improve handwriting, then give it back to now. We try to imitate, interpolate handwriting between his handwriting and their handwriting, and so on and so on. Okay, the therapist told us, these kids have comorbidity. It means that dysgraphia comes with dyslexia and quite often to attention deficit or hyperactivity. And they told us, you will see, these kids cannot focus for more than 10 to 15 minutes, 50 minutes without any problem, because they wanted now to pass this test. And we even once received a letter, months later, dear Nao, I hope that you pass your test. So there was this motivation. Very cool. And we had this project with a team here with Mohamed and Thomas Gargo here in Paris. And this is a story of one child who at the beginning handwriting was so bad at the first months that we could not grade it. And the blue is the speed of handwriting, and the red is speed and the blue is the quality. And there is a standard there to measure that. So after how many weeks? 30 weeks of practicing handwriting with co-writer, you see that this child, I saw the video at the beginning. He was in a room outside in a little park. He was running, jumping in all directions. After 30 months, he passed the threshold considered as okay. this is not the effect of the co-writer activity. This is the effect of a very good therapist who was using many activities, and one of them was a co-writer. We have to be careful. It was a talented therapist using different activities, but one of them was quite catchy for them, saving the life of a robot or saving the school career of a robot. Now, are you going to put this a robot like that in every classroom? Come on. This is beyond any cost that can be done. And again, it was not the effect. You could put a robot in the corner. It is not the effect of the technology. It was the effect of a talented psychologist or psychiatrist actually using this technology. So what we did a light version. So we took handwriting for hundreds of kids who had problems, hundreds of kids who had no problem. We ran machine learning. And so they write on a tablet, and then we extract features like with 240 times per second, the position, so the speed, the acceleration, but also the angle and the pressure of the stylus on the tablet. So if you run machine learning, the system identifies these graphic kits, or no, we don't care about being this graphic or not, we try to have a continuous scale, by extracting features like the second derivative of pen pressure. So the therapist does not see pen pressure, but he certainly does not perceive the second derivative of pen pressure. And then based on that, we have different profile and different games. So the kids can practice pressure by controlling a submarine or helicopter and so on, because they don't like handwriting. So we basically want them to improve the fine motor skills by playing with various games. We actually had one of the designers of FIFA 2000 with us for a while, and we have different games like that. So, okay, so basically we abandoned the robot in this project. No, it continues because in their ERA-check project, they continue to investigate how this idea could still be developed. But okay, now let's take the initial question and put the initial question differently. What if you would be able to design a robot that is as good as a human? What would be the implication of that? Because we have humans. Why would you replace, what we put an artificial teacher instead of a human teacher? You might say, we don't have enough teachers. This is true in Africa, but the cost of this robot will not solve the problem. This is true in Germany. I don't know in France. In Germany and the German-speaking part, they have a huge shortage of teachers at all levels of schools level. And the industry will ask more, so they will even, because they don't compete in terms of salary, they will even, this problem will be growing. You could also say, well, maybe the technology is not better than the best teacher, but it's better than the bad teachers. It's true. Might be an option. I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure that parents would love to have kids who come home and say, oh, I don't have a teacher, I have a robot. During the pandemic, we realized one thing which is terrible about school. The main role of school is babysitting. The parents were mad because they didn't know what to do with the kids during the day. So you really want to have a robot babysitter? Well, having the responsibility, the legal responsibility of the safety of your child during the day? Not sure. Another one that comes all the time is, yeah, but robots, what they can do is they can provide individualized instruction. Okay, nothing to complain about that. Okay, when I read the first paper about computer-based education, that was in 81, 82, the title was, The Goal of Computers in Education is to individualize instruction. Okay, makes a lot of sense, but think about the future. What would be the future of school? Is it something like that on the left, where every child is working on his computer individually and he has instruction tailored for him? Imagine the AI works very well and he has just exactly the exercise he needs, when he needs, tailored to him. Well, I prefer the right-hand side picture. This is in the classroom of one classroom of Miguel Nisbom, Santiago de Chile, where you see the life in the classroom. I don't want, as a former teacher, to have school something clean where everybody is silent on the computer. That's not the model of education that I would like to go. So individualization is fine. It makes sense. If you have a certain level, you need exercise which adjusts in your zone of proximal development slightly higher than what you can do. And you have individualization is not a bad thing, but it's only half of the story. social interaction is very important, not only because we shape citizens, but because cognition, Vygotsky, cognition is a social thing. We think with language. Language is social. So our cognition is intrinsically social. So why have these 3 girls, 3 mice? Did you notice? They have 3 mice connected on the same computer. Because we know that collaborative learning does not always work. In many cases, when there is one learner who dominates the 2 others, or maybe 2 who dominates and 1 which is left out, then this girl will not learn as much. So quite often with computers, one of them take the keyboard and the mouse and take the control, and the 2 other ones are kind of left out. So what Miguel designed is a computer with 3 mice. And there is an educational software where every mouse can only touch some of the buttons. Some of the buttons are not sensitive to the 2 other mice, so that they're forced to collaborate. Each of them can only manipulate some of the objects on the screens. So there is no miracle in social interaction. There's a lot of problems with collaborative learning, but these 3 mice, this multi-mice system was there designed to avoid something. So my vision of robot is more something social. This was Ranger, one of the robots in my lab, that has nothing related to a humanoid except 2 eyes. That was the only humanoid feature, and still there was a lot of anthropomorphic projection of the children because Ranger misbehaved like a real kid. You would call him, he said, he would do it, and sometimes, so the idea was how to tidy up your room. Ranger in French is ranger, is to tidy up your room. So they would call him and he would call, and at some point he would say, no, like a human being. You call him 10 times, 9 times he comes, 10 times he says no. Or he make mistakes, he goes somewhere else. This kind of human behavior had more impact on the anthropomorphism than the fact that it was not at all a human, except that he has 2 eyes. So as mentioned in the abstract, in human-robot interaction, we have a bit this feeling that more we give to the robot, the better it will be for education. And that's what I wanted to question today. And this imitation bias is not only in human-robot interaction, it is in human-computer interaction in general. People believe that audio communication is better than a chat because you have emotions and so on and so on. Well, in a chat, you can do a lot of things, like you can participate to 3 conversations at the same time. They believe that video is better than audio because it's a richer medium, while many experiments show it's not the case, except when the communication is really spatial. You have to explain something that is very special, then video is better than audio. But it's not true that video is better than audio, that B is better than text. This is a false belief of human-computer interaction. So when I see the people working in my lab, they want to add emotion recognition, Xavi, gesture recognition, posture recognition, lips reading, and we add features and the robot will be better for learning. And this is called the imitation bias. The more a device imitates humans, the more it will be better. And so the sentence I put in as a first sentence of the abstract is the planes do not flip their wings like a bird. So that's in some way that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to have robots that imitate human in the same way that planes would flip their wings like birds do. And actually, then I found this video that actually said the opposite of what I believe. Okay, it's kind of fascinating video. When I watch it, I have difficulty to stop it because you wonder what will happen to this plane. And after a few minutes, you would see a few seconds, it will just take off by about 10 centimeters. By now, the pilot must be vomiting already. And I think he managed to take off by 1 meter, which is not so useful, I would say. But it's a good, in some way, we are sometimes trying to invent planes that flip their wings in the field of human-robot interaction. So one way to discuss that is this equation. We kind of believe that more features, lips reading, emotion recognition, face recognition, blah, 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 facial expression, better it will be for education. So we have this kind of intuitive function in mind. And let me take an example of Timio. This is a small robot for learning programming designed at EPFL, and we sold 80,000 of them to French schools and Swiss schools. And let me take 3 activities with Timio. First activity, will the kids, if they manage to program that, are they going to learn something? Probably, huh? And not only in programming, probably also in physics. They are probably not kids, actually. A second one, a teacher, a stupid teacher, beam the code on the beamer, and the kids type the code. Okay. Yeah. Third activity, I push a little bit. They sleep next to Timio. Maybe they learn something. So why do I have this absurd demonstration? Is that exactly the same technology, and after 3 learning activities, different learning activity, and you understand the function is not right. The function is like that. With the same technology, we obtain different learning objectives. And that's something I will repeat again and again. So actually, the function should be like that. The x-axis should not be the features of the robot, the richness of the robot, should be the cognitive activity. How demanding is the cognitive activity they engage. So that's what I call the myth of intrinsic effect of technology. We still believe, and when we try to improve the technology, it shows that we still believe in some way that the technology will matter more than the cognitive activity. And I prefer to call it spinach, because myth is a bit of a beautiful word for something. Why spinach? Because, you know, it was a mistake. There is iron in spinach, but not a lot of iron. It was a typo when the people analyzed that. But for the last 60 years of my life, let's say the first 20 years of my life, my mother repeated me, take the spinach, it's full of iron. And I saw Popeye the Sailor Man. So for 20 years, I've been brainwashed that iron, spinach has iron. So now when I eat spinach, I feel the iron. So there are some kind of beliefs, you know, indécrottable, I don't know how we could translate indécrottable in English, that you cannot get rid of, okay? And this effect of the fact that if the technology is more powerful, it will be better for the education, we cannot get rid of that. And I have one nice example, which is not in robotics, which is in vocational education, Berufsbildung. You know, in Switzerland, 2/3 of the teenagers learn a job when they're 16, including the president of Switzerland, the president of UBS, only 1/3 go to university. And 4 days per week in a company, 1 day per week at school. These are apprentices in logistics. They work in a warehouse and they have to learn logistics, which is the optimization of storage and flows in a warehouse. They learn nothing. We went to visit them for weeks. They learn nothing. Because the organization of the warehouse, or you put different things at different places, this is the boss job. This is not their job. So the teachers say, well, on Monday they come to school. They like to come to school because they sleep longer in the morning. But how can we teach something as difficult as logistics for these strong men who failed everything at school with an X, mathematics, physics, statistics, logistics, anyway. So we designed this augmented reality where they built on a table the warehouse mock-up. So they put plastic shelves and we beam information on the top of them to simulate the functioning of a workshop. We have this device that beams through 2 mirrors to increase the focal distance. And this is how it looks like. So, so this is my, so we have 4 lamps like that in the classroom. So 4 teams of 3 or 4 apprentices. This is my warehouse on the right. Instruction on the left, this is where the trucks arrive and leave, and they build physically a warehouse. And the system, you see, the augmented reality, so digital information on physical object, told them that these 2 shelves were too close for a forklift to turn. Okay. On the left, you have the different variable of the warehouse, and so the nice thing about physical, tangible interface is that it's easy to collaborate, much easier than with a tablet or a laptop. So once they are ready, they can run a simulation. This is an old one, and this is probably 15 years ago. And you see the forklift, they pick the boxes in the shelves and they bring into the trucks and vice versa. Here you have the average time to move a box from the shelf to the trucks, which is the performance of the warehouse. Okay, so we run experiments, of course. We always run experiments. We went to the school. This is on the left is the apprentice, on the right is the teacher. And you see there were 4 teams in the classroom. So it asked every team to copy the design of the warehouse and the performance they got it. And then they discussed. And the teachers loved it. It's not often in education when you design a technology that the teacher says, yes, thank you. Usually they say, well, maybe not this semester because I'm very busy, maybe next semester. And it's not, and the apprentice, you know, they say, oh, monsieur, ça déchire, monsieur, je peux prendre une vidéo, monsieur. So can I take a picture? Because so teachers love it. Learners love it. No significant difference in terms of understanding as compared to paper, in terms of understanding on the left and problem solving on the right. In my lab, we design with a few people there, super cool technologies. We test them, then we cry. There is no miracle in education. Huh? Quite often we have to improve, go back again and again and again, and down the road we get a PhD and a glass of milk. And so what Son went to, was a Vietnamese student, he went to analyze what's going on. So 4 teams in the classroom, and you look at these 4 teams, analyze the videos in terms of collaboration quality, blue, how much they manipulate, they talk when they manipulate, and how much they reflect on the task. And you see that in the worst team on the left, they don't really reflect, they just manipulate. He called that the temptation manipulation, which looks like a Catholic concept, but he was Vietnamese, so I'm not sure. But so what happened is that they play. They move the shelf, they run, they move the shelf, they run. They can do that for 20 years, they will still not learn anything. So what we did is we gave a key to the teacher that prevent them to simulate. So they had to build a warehouse and call the teacher, sir, can we run the simulation? And the teacher would say, well, do you believe this warehouse will be better than more effective than the first one? And they would say, we don't know. Well, think about it and call me when you have an hypothesis. He doesn't say hypothesis, too complex. When you have an idea, then they call it, yeah, it will be faster. Why? We don't know. Well, think about it and try to make, predicting is one of the best learning activity, especially false prediction is a very good trick in education. So, and we gave them all kinds of tools to really push them to reflect. And with this, we got significant difference as compared to the paper. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is we change nothing in the technology. We just change the role of the teacher and we get results. So this is not the effect of the technology. This is the effect of the role of a teacher using a cool technology. But you see the point. That's quite important because this is a disease in a field. This is our spinac. Again, we tend to, it's difficult when we do a PhD on designing a technology for learning, it's difficult not to believe that this technology will have an effect, but it's a sad reality of life. It depends on the cognitive activity of the learner. So if we abandon the imitation bias and we accept that maybe our technology are not need to be perfect, could we say, oh, maybe some of the limitations are good? And here is one example. This is one of these other camera projection system that we developed in the lab many years ago. And we designed this kind of activity. The students read a text on neuroscience. Three students read 3 subsets of the text. And 3 parts of the text. One is neuronal transmission from an electrical point of view, from a chemical point of view, and I don't remember the third one. And based on that, they build a concept map. But instead of building a concept, a concept map is a graph of concept. There are a lot of software on computers. Instead of doing it on computer, they use this projection system. So they take piece of cardboard. If they do this, the system beams a link. If they do that, the system cut the link. So a very cool technology. 3 people, instead of having a small computer, they build it on the table. Experiment. Teams building a concept map with this cool technology. Teams building a concept map with a boring computer. And who learn more? Well, there was no significant difference in terms of learning gain, but there is one in terms of how much they learn on the post-test, the information which was not in the text they read, but in the text that somebody else read. So the boring technology, that has limited because there is a bottleneck. The boring technology was more effective. It was limited. Why? Because you have a bottleneck. There is one keyboard, one mouse. For the others, they could move piece of paper as they want. And that was a trick. The bottleneck was a chance. Why? Because there was this bottleneck, they had to discuss, they had to argue. Why do you? No, I disagree. No, it should be connected to this one. And the cognitive effort of building an explanation is known to produce knowledge. So the boring technology forced them to argue, to discuss, and so on and so on. So in education, we discriminate three kinds of cognitive load. The intrinsic cognitive load, which is the fact that running a marathon can be more difficult than running a 200 meters. The extrinsic cognitive loads, which is cognitive load in the learning phase that doesn't bring anything in terms of learning, like the lady in the middle, she will not win the Olympics, even if she trained like that. And then there is a germane cognitive load, when something is slightly more difficult, or not difficult, but cognitively demanding, because you believe it will help them to construct the knowledge. Well, this is a bad metaphor because the brain is not a muscle, but still, you get the metaphor. So, and that's a question. If our technology is not perfect, do they increase extrinsic, like the bag? Then they will not be good for learning. Or do they increase germane cognitive load? The concept map example with the bottleneck increased germane cognitive load because it forced them to explain. With the card of the teacher and the logistic augmented reality, increased germane cognitive load because it forced people to predict, to explain. Here is another example that we use in collaborative learning. We use this kind of scenario where a sequence of activities with individual activities, first line, team activities, and class-wide activities. So this is something I've done a lot in my own class. This is an example which is a bit outside. You ask them a question where there is no right or wrong answer. This is an example about drugs in marathon, but we don't care. I used it 2 days ago, actually, in my doctoral class with more relevant questions. So they just answer 4 questions, and then we plot a map with their opinions. Based on their answer, we build a map. For every answer, we have an XY position. We build a map, and then we take, say, you and you disagree. You are going to answer again together, and you disagree. You are going to answer the same questionnaire again. Then they do that. They answer the same questionnaire again, the 2 of them. And then there is a lecture and then an individual exercise. So there is a sequence of activities where the goal is the middle one, the argumentation. But the trick is the following one. Think about the germane cognitive load. Think about the coach. Huh? The trick is the following one. If you randomly pair 2 people in a team like that, there is some level of disagreement being due to the randomness of life. There will be some level of disagreement. Vertically is the level of disagreement. The first activity, if we do that, what we do by taking people on the map with opposite opinion, we decrease the level. We try to minimize the level of agreement between them. Why? Social cognitive conflict, late Piaget, or not exactly Piaget, Douaz and MIIE, show that the cognitive conflict that Piaget emphasized occurs more often if it's turned into a social conflict, a conflict between 2 opinions and so on. So two lessons here. Again, we make the task a bit more difficult by taking people who disagree more and then need to agree. So there is more, the slope is bigger. They have more effort, explanation, argumentation. You can hear the noise in the room when I do that. The second one is that the richness of the second activity is not due only to the second activity, but to the activity that comes before. So there's this notion of scenario. It's not one activity. And when I see what we design in human-robot interaction, quite often we focus on one activity. And actually, maybe the story, or the key of the story, is a sequence of activity. So maybe that the way to have a demanding activity, like if you want the third one to be, is not in the activity itself. It may come from the activities before. And last example, maybe you have seen this movie of a small robot that gives haptic feedback. So it's a very simple robot. It's positioned itself on paper by a accuracy of 1/4 millimeter, 240 times per second, and it gives haptic feedback. So there is a force feedback, but if you pull, you don't break the engine because Heiberg designed something for that. And so talking about the sequence, we have this notion of cognitive change. I don't know if you have tried this. You take 2 blocks of ice, you put them on the table, and you say to the kids, I take my woolen pullover and I put it on 1 cube of ice. Which cube will melt faster? Well, the one with a warm pullover, of course. No? And this is called a misconception, okay? And a natural misconception. All their life, the mother told them, my baby, please put your pullover because it's cold outside. You will need warm. And you put the pullover and you were warm. So your experience is pullover is warm. That's a physical experience, a cognitive. The science is that it also, oh, sorry, I forgot to put the wool. So this one will melt slower because wool is an isolant and not it's not warm per se. So the same for Ala Kohn, who just defended, using this swarm robot, we so the story about misconception is that you need to trap them. They survive any class if you don't trap them. Trap them means you make them make a prediction. Most kids will say the left one will melt faster. That's their experience. And then this is not occurring. So conceptual change is best taught by conflict again. You make a misprediction. And so that's what Ala actually designed. We have this, most people have this kind of centralized mindset. We believe there is a central cause to the phenomena. Sometimes you are on a traffic jam on a motorway and there is no accident. Wherever, I mean, no red light. Why is a traffic jam? Because the first car slowed down a little bit, the second one a bit more, and so on. And so there is this collective effect of creating a traffic jam. And what she did to go from this centralized mindset to a distributed mindset, in all kinds of activities where you have a situation, trapping misconception, where the centralized mindset works, and then you put the students, now not kids, in a situation where the centralized mindset rule would fail. So, the answer to my question this morning may be to make good learning with robots that are far from being good. Maybe we should not focus only on one activity, but on a scenario where maybe it's a sequence of activity that creates a cognitive effect. So should we design richer robot? I would say let's design richer scenario. That's the goal of scenarios where the previous activity will make what follows. I found that in HRI, there is not much creativity, to be honest. We had a lot of fancy moments in the lab where we invented, more Monty Python style pedagogical scenario or Woody Allen style. There is no bunch surrealism, absurdity. I think we need it's not a scenario in the sense of a movie, but maybe some of these movie maker actually could bring some ideas about how to make scenario that surprise the learner. Currently, we are very much still in trying to imitate what teachers would do. We try to imitate what teachers would do with robots, and that's not the right direction. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this very fascinating presentation that I believe will definitely thought-provoking. And thank you very much for being very careful with the timing. I did not even have the time to put out my 5-minute slide paper, so amazing. Thank you very much. What question would the public have?
Yeah, very great talk here. But I wondered, the conclusion is it really any better than where you started from? The scenario you talked about, the scenario if it's not germane, even if it's very engaging, it still might lead to no learning. But so the richness, I think where you were in the middle, that is the learning activity that needs to be rich things. I'm not sure if the scenario helps you at all, or if you go by.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure either. I said at the beginning, I wrote this title, I don't know, 3 months ago, and I'm not sure I have the answer, or the answer would be change the goal. Instead of trying to improve the robot with sleep reading, emotion recognition, and so on, try to design scenarios that would increase the German cognitive load. A more fancy robot might increase or not. It depends not of the robot, it depends on the activity, the children. So we should start from the activity more than from the features of the robot. And maybe some very basic robots, like, you know, the robot that we use every day, they are door opening things. And I view them as robots. Maybe we can do, and they're cheap, they're everywhere. Maybe we could do very great learning activities just with this door opening system, you know, predicting the speed or whatever with our kids. And so maybe we can use very simple robots by putting more creativity into the learning activity. That's the message. It's an easy message, and being more creative cannot be criticized as a bad idea. It's a kind of an easy message, but I feel that, and we had a lot of discussion in the lab with Barbara, Daniel, Chen Yang. Chen Yang, you will see, is quite, he has great ideas about the nasty things, and Javaria about this, the need for HRI to come with more surprising scenarios.
I don't see any other question in place, so I will go on with my questions, which is probably a naive question, but I really understand the idea of the robot being a bad imitation of the worst imitation of the worst version of the human. I was wondering if there were scenarios that were used where the robot would not be trying to imitate a human, but if you're aware of a scenario like that, but directly trying to be something else, like it would have to be an alien or something that is drastically different from human, and thus would not be able to carry on what a human would carry, or would not be able to understand what a human would carry. And are you aware of any?
No, I'm not. Maybe some people in the room are. It's not only teacher, and we have a lot of robots as co-learners, as tutees, and but as an alien, no. Well, there are also dogs robot and so on, but an alien is maybe not a good idea. I was telling to a colleague, why don't you put a plâtre, a cast on the leg of the robot, just to see a little bit, so to see a little bit the reactions of the children. But it's funny, but maybe because we give this humanoid shape, we close our imagination. You know? What are the name of our colleagues from Lisbon? They had some robots that were just basically some air. In the team of Anna, Paiva, there was anyway.
Patricia,
merci Barbara, and Sylvia, I think, who is now here somewhere in Paris, and maybe in some way designing robots with human shapes kind of reduce our imagination.
Is there 1 minute for another question from me, or am I stealing a spot from someone in the room because I can't see the room?
Okay.
Barbara, I think you can talk now.
Okay. So exactly, just building on what you said around the oh shit, I have a blank moment. But never mind. Sorry.
Okay. Question. Okay.
I think it's a fun answer for sure.
Javi, do you Barbara, did you take your memory pills this morning?
Yeah, that's never mind.
No,
Let's not go
we don't
there.
hear
But
you, Barbara.
I remember my question. So it's one of the arguments that I typically hear pro humanoid robots is that because of their familiar shape, etc., they remove the cognitive effort of trying to understand how they work and how to interact with them. And so in a learning setting, this could be seen as an effort put on something that is unrelated to the learning goal. So what is your response to this argument?
Well, my answer is that was a question I asked. Is it, if it increased cognitive load, to project human intention on non-humanoid robots, is it extrinsic cognitive load or German cognitive load? And let's design activities where it is turned into a German cognitive load. That's that would be, how do we do that? I leave this question to the new generation.